Welcome to this Wednesday edition of Gospel Points. I'm Kevin Thompson, your host. Today I just have a kind of a quick thought for you. This won't probably take up our full time, but I wanted to read from Colossians chapter 3, and beginning in verse number 12. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another. And if anyone has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you. So you must also forgive. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. You know, when you deal with other people, you're always dealing with sinners. You're dealing with people in different degrees of sanctification, and sometimes people who aren't even saved at all. But our interactions with others ought to be marked with compassion, with kindness, with humility, meekness, patience. Why? Because that's exactly what we have in the gospel. God has given us a sense of humility, knowing that we are sinners, wretched and undeserving. We have a meekness, we have a self-control, we have a patience, because we know that God has been that way with us. God has shown us compassion and kindness when we do not deserve it. Therefore, we can give that and bestow that upon others who are equally as unworthy to receive it as we are. That's what the gospel does to us. The gospel changes us. I can forgive you, this passage says, because Christ has forgiven me. When you ask for my forgiveness, no matter how horrible you have been to me, no matter what great offense you have been, I can forgive you because Christ has forgiven me. If anyone has a complaint, forgive another. We're to bear with one another. It reminds me of the passage in Peter where God says he is long-suffering to us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. He is long-suffering. We are to be that same way with others. Why? Because again, the gospel changes us. If we recognize the power of our own sin, the weight of that guilt, we are to be just like the parable that Jesus told of the man who was forgiven of a great debt. But what was his problem? He couldn't forgive others. Instead, we are to be like Christ. And we are to forgive. But too often, we're just like that man in the parable. We don't remember our own debt and the weight that was upon us because of that. Colossians chapter 2 talks about that weight that's been lifted from us by the gospel. Verse number 13 of chapter 2. And you who were dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made alive together with him, having forgiven us all our trespasses by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. This he set aside, nailing it to the cross. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them to open shame by triumphing over them in him. We have been forgiven. We've been shown mercy. We've been shown kindness. We have been shown great compassion. Now we are to bestow that upon others. Again, that's not easy. I'd love to tell you that I'm a great example of how to do this, but I'm not. I'm still in need of this forgiveness and this patience. So I end this not just with a encouragement to you to do all these things, but I end this podcast today with a request. Pray for me. I'm not here yet. I'm not doing this as I ought to be. So I ask the Lord in all humility and sincerity, Lord, melt my heart. Lord, give me the compassion that you have. Lord, I want to be like you and show great humility and show great compassion, and mercy when that is needed. Help me to bear with my brothers and sisters in my local church. Help me to bear with unbelievers. Bear with my family. And sometimes bear with myself. Lord, I want this peace of Christ to rule in my heart. That happens when we have that peace, that love that binds everything together. That's what I want to experience. That's what I desire, but I know oftentimes I'm the one who gets in the way of that. So again, my podcast listeners, I'm not just telling you to do this, although if that's where the Spirit's convicting, then so be it. But I'm asking for your prayers. Help me to do this. Well, don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at Kevin J. Thompson, or you can look for me on Facebook. You can check out the blog at www.kevinjthompson.info. Well, we'll see you on Friday. Until then, have a great rest of your week.